Baldwin now formally charged today in connection with the 2021 fatal shooting on the set of the movie Rust. The Santa Fe County DA's office charging Baldwin and the set's armorer, Halyna Gutierrez-Reed, with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Now, CNN has reached out to representatives for both Baldwin and Gutierrez-Reed following today's official charges, but we have yet to hear back. But attorneys for both defendants previously insisted that their respective clients are innocent. Back with me, Elliott Williams. Also joining me is prop gun safety founder Dutch Merrick and former Maryland State Police Officer Neill Franklin. Glad to have you all here. Let me begin with you, Dutch, on this in particular. The documents are really laying out a series of actions that they believe are negligent, including him not taking firearm training seriously, having a cell phone distraction moment, also about the idea of the pointing of the gun in particular. And I want to go there because certainly there is common sense that says you should never point a gun at someone, and there's obvious reasons why. I do wonder from your experience, though, we were talking about a movie set in particular, which is the crux of this issue. Are the standards notably different because of the pantomiming and the scene setting?
Yeah, they absolutely are different. You know, there's real world gun handling and then there's motion picture gun handling. And we have a slightly different set of rules. In real world, they say never point the gun at another person or something you don't want to destroy. In the film world, we say always point it in a safe direction. And a safe direction is open to interpretation. We might have a gun pointed at a camera, but there'll be a sheet of Lexan or polycarbonate there to safety that. So it's not always not pointing at a person per se, technically. But again, I think they're putting so much onus on the actor. In my experience, we're supposed to safety the stage as though the actor can, so that the actor can play fully, almost like a 4-year-old. So that they can completely be in that character and in that space and not worrying about any other details. So we make it very realistic and ultimately entirely safe. So hence, blank use for over 100 years. They look like a real gun, they act like a real gun, but nothing comes out the barrel except for fire, no bullets.
On that point, Neill, I mean, Baldwin insists that he did not fire the revolver, that it just, quote, went off. The DA's office is saying that they had FBI analysis done and found that to be not truthful, that the weapon did not somehow malfunction. What do you think?
So I think whether on the set of a movie or in some other situation, you should always take gun safety very, very seriously. So even in that, as Dutch said, even though you want them in this role where they can be act, for instance, like a 4-year-old and just do what they need to do in that acting situation, when it comes to pointing a gun in a safe direction, it's still your responsibility, everyone's responsibility who handles that firearm, to check to make sure that it is either loaded or unloaded, or whether it has blanks or it doesn't have blanks, and to have someone else check with you at the same time. You just don't check yourself. You check and then you show it to someone else. They check with you so it can be confirmed what the condition of the firearm is. And pulling a trigger, if you have taken the course seriously, you know that you just don't have to pull the trigger for that firearm to discharge. Pulling the hammer back will do the very same thing depending upon the firearm.
Elliott, let me bring you in here because one of the points that Dutch raised was the idea of a lot of onus being on the actor.
Yep.
And the assumptions that ought to be able to be relied upon if you have this safe space. But he is notably Alec Baldwin. Again, there is somebody else, Halyna Gutierrez-Reed, also charged, and another producer who has pleaded guilty already to a different charge. But he's also being charged and factored in as a producer as well. And that's been a big sticking point for you.
No, it is, because it's, you know, and what they do in this probable cause statement where they lay out why they're charging him or what the basis for the charges is, number one, these are all the things that Alec Baldwin, the actor, did, sort of failing in his duty as an actor. And then Alec Baldwin, as a producer who had some responsibility for what happened on the set, even if we're not looking at him as an actor, this is how this producer failed the set. So they're sort of putting forward 2 alternative theories for how he did it, or, you know, for how he went wrong. What this comes down to, and what any manslaughter case is going to come down to, is what's called reasonableness. And you know that, Laura. Of course, it's, was this person's actions, how does it relate to how a reasonable, quote-unquote, person would have acted in the same circumstance? And as Dutch had said a little bit earlier, a lot of these things are open to interpretation, like what ought to be the right way to behave on a movie set, either as an actor or as a producer. So we'll see how it all plays out.
And of course, he's saying he's more of a creative producer, not somebody with the nuts and bolts. Would that make a difference, those nuances?
Well, the prosecutor seems to disagree with him. So regardless of whether he's a creative producer, and that's a thing, but he was also, I think they used the term principal producer, maybe not executive producer, but he had a senior management role there. That's what they're hanging their hat on here. It's just